Namaste and welcome back to the Divine Flow Lab. My name is Shaina and I will be your yoga instructor today for this beginner's vinyasa flow class for tight shoulders. Let's get started in a seated position on our mat, bringing the hands to the knees with our palms facing upward and slowly closing the eyes. Begin to connect with yourself here. Observe your breathing and how your chest rises and falls with each inhale and with each exhale. If you would like to set an intention for your practice today, maybe something that you would like to let go of or manifest, or maybe you just want to simply be present. Taking a few more breaths, then slowly blinking the eyes open. Let's find some length in the spine by dropping our hands behind us, planting the palms down onto the mat as we roll the shoulders back, taking the gaze up towards the sky. Again, becoming aware of the rise and fall of your chest as you inhale and exhale. Slowly releasing, coming back to a neutral spine. Let's take a few rounds of a seated cat-cow, bringing the hands to the knees, and on your inhale, pulling the chest forward, taking the gaze up to the sky for cow pose. Then exhale, rounding the spine, dropping the head and neck for cat pose. Taking a few rounds on your own breath. And coming back to a neutral spine. Taking a deep inhale as we circle the arms overhead, interlacing the fingers, and exhaling as you reach a little bit higher up through the fingers. Reversing the positioning of the palms to face upward. Taking a deep inhale, and on your exhale, taking the arms over to the right side, finding a stretch in the left side of the body. And coming back to center. Taking a deep inhale, and on the exhale, dropping over to the left side. Finding a stretch in the right side. And coming back to center. Releasing the hands down towards the mat. On an inhale, circling the arms out in front of you. And exhale, wrapping them around the body, giving yourself a little hug. Maybe taking some movements that feel good. And releasing the hands the way that they came in. Inhale, circling the arms out in front of us. Again, wrapping them around you. Embracing your own warmth here. I'll let you take a few rounds on your own breath. They say that the average person needs 7 to 8 hugs a day to feel happiness. So this could be a way that you show yourself some gratitude and love today. When you're ready, let's release and come into a tabletop position. Taking a few rounds of cat-cow. On your inhale, dropping the belly, lifting the tailbone, taking the gaze up to the sky for cow pose. And exhale, rounding the spine, dropping the head and neck for cat pose. Coming back to a neutral spine. At this time, I'd like to give you some free movement of the spine. Maybe taking a few positions that feel good to you today. However you would like to move. Coming back to a neutral spine. Taking a moment to reconnect with the breath, pushing the hips back and lowering the chest down for child's pose. Pressing into the palms, let's come back into a tabletop position. Shifting your weight onto the right hand. Take the left hand up towards the sky, then weaving it underneath the right shoulder, coming down onto your left shoulder for a thread the needle. Option 2, take a bind here by taking the right hand behind the back. If you chose to take a bind, you can release it now, bringing the right hand back down onto the mat, pressing into the right palm and coming back into a tabletop position, taking that left hand up towards the sky one more time, then placing it down onto the mat. Shifting your weight over to the left side, let's take the right hand up towards the sky, then weaving it underneath the left shoulder, coming down onto that right shoulder. And if you took a bind on the right side, you can take a bind with the left hand behind the back. Remember, it's just an option. Staying in thread the needle is perfectly fine as well. Releasing the bind, placing the hand back down onto the mat, taking the right hand up towards the sky to release that twist, and placing it down onto the mat. Let's tuck the toes and lift the hips, coming into downward facing dog. Keeping a generous bend in the knees as you alternate between bending the right knee and the left knee. Straightening one leg and bending the other. Taking 5 breaths here. Coming onto our tippy toes, reaching the hips up towards the sky. Let's have our hands and feet meet in the middle of the mat. So walking the feet up towards the hands, halfway, then walking the hands back towards the feet. Taking a hold of your elbows, opposite elbows, and hanging in this ragdoll position, keeping a generous bend in the knees, and placing your hands down onto the mat. Inhale, circling the arms up overhead, coming into standing position, and exhale, bringing the hands down to heart center. Let's look down and make sure that the feet are hip width distance. Then inhale, circling the arms up overhead, and exhale, hinging forward at the hips, coming into forward fold. Inhale, coming up halfway, sliding the hands up the shins. Then exhale, placing the hands back down onto the mat, walking the hands back out halfway and the feet back to come back into downward facing dog. Inhale, shifting forward into plank pose. Let's lower down onto our elbows and then lower down all the way towards the mat, pressing into the palms, coming up into cobra. And lowering all the way back down onto the mat, tucking the toes, lifting the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, bending your knees, and exhale, walking the feet all the way up to meet the hands. Inhale, circling the arms up and overhead, and exhale, hands down to heart center. Inhale, sitting back into chair pose, and exhale, coming up into standing. On your own breath, let's sit back down into chair. Taking a bind at the arms, wrapping the right arm under the left. Keeping the bind in the arms, let's go ahead and stand up. Shifting some weight into the right foot as you step the left foot back, spinning the left heel down, coming into warrior one. Taking one more breath here as you undo the bind, bringing the arms overhead. Then opening up the chest and coming into warrior two. Taking one breath here and flipping the palm and reversing your warrior, sliding the left hand down that left leg, being sure to press into that right knee. Coming back into warrior two, bringing the hand up for warrior one. Let's bring the hands down to the mat, placing them alongside the foot, stepping back into plank, lowering down onto the forearms, then lowering all the way down onto the mat, pressing into the palms for cobra, tucking the toes, lifting the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Taking 5 breaths here. Coming high onto the tippy toes, lifting the hips up, bending the knees and stepping the feet up to meet the hands. Coming into forward fold. Inhale, circling the arms up and overhead. Then exhale, bringing the hands down to heart center. Inhale, coming into chair pose. Exhale, standing. Inhale, coming into chair. Let's reverse the bind of the arms, taking the left arm under the right. Keeping the bind of the arms as you come into standing. Shifting the weight onto the left foot as you step the right foot back. Spinning the heel down onto the mat as you come into warrior one. Releasing the bind, taking the arms up overhead. Then opening the chest up for warrior 2. Inhale, reversing your warrior. And exhale, coming back into warrior 2. Coming back into warrior 1. And bringing the palms down to reach the mat alongside the foot, stepping back into plank. Lowering down on the forearms as you lower all the way down onto the mat. Pressing into the palms, cobra. Tucking the toes, lifting the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Lowering the knees down onto the mat. Let's come into child's pose, pushing the hips back to meet the heels, bringing the chest down onto the mat. Taking a few breaths here, reconnecting with yourself, reconnecting with your intention for your practice. Pressing into the palms as we lift back into a tabletop position. Let's spin the feet around, coming down onto our back. Beginning to wind down this practice. Pulling the knees into the chest. If you are unable to grab hold of the knees, you can always grab hold behind the thighs. Dropping the knees over to the right as you take your gaze over to the left for a twist. Then pulling the knees back through center and dropping them over to the left side. Taking your gaze over to the right and breathing naturally as you find this twist. Coming back to center, taking one last hold of the knees into your chest, taking a deep inhale as you lift your head up to meet your knees. Then exhale, releasing the feet down onto the mat, bringing the arms alongside the body as we settle into Shavasana. Begin to bring some awareness back into your body, wiggling your toes and your fingers. Remind yourself of the intention that you had today for your practice. Let's slowly move on to our right side. Then come up into a seated position when you're ready. Bringing the hands to the knees. As you settle into this pose, have the palms facing downward for grounding. Closing the eyes. Acknowledge yourself for showing up on your mat today. I hope that you can carry your intention throughout your day today. Taking a few more breaths, bringing the hands to heart center. Thank you so much for taking the time to practice with me today. I look forward to practicing with you again in the future. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the Divine Flow Lab. Namaste.